everything's here. So I'll call the meeting of the Davenport Housing Commission for February 28th, 2022 at 4:01. Do roll call. Leslie?
Here.
Gary?
Here.
Joyce?
Here.
And Matt, I'm here, so we have a quorum. First on the agenda are the minutes from the January meeting. Does anybody have any questions or corrections?
No.
I didn't notice anything, but. Well, if nobody does, I'll, excuse me, I'll ask for approval of those minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from January 24th.
Second.
Great. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for the January 24th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, those pass. So next up are the financial reports. And Joyce, I saw an email that you had a question or two in there for Destiny, so, and
Yeah,
she did send back, but,
Yep, the payments to other agencies was from the incentive program, so I think I cleared up that question. And then I did fix the formulas for all programs together. So everything should be included now.
oh, there I got to the last page, so.
I'm not sure if there's any other questions on the finances.
If I remember that question right, Joyce it had to do with some fund carryovers that,
Yeah, those were for the, where it was listed as payments to other agencies. I guess those were payments that we sent to landlords. And
Yeah,
that's
that
where,
was from the incentive program.
yeah, and that's what Destiny said, that we don't do those anymore.
okay, yeah,
That was from the COVID CARES Act. That's what that
Right.
line is for.
and that's all used up.
Well, we had to spend it by December 31st.
Or the time.
So we
Yeah,
did
okay.
have the one entry for $200 in January, but otherwise, yeah, all those funds had to be used by December 31st.
That's right. Have you heard that other communities had pretty good, or that was just an option that communities could do?
Yeah, there was a lot of different options. We could use the COVID CARES Act funds for, if we were trying to make it better for tenants in some way to help them with the COVID, as far as them coming in the office, like our hand sanitizer stations, any way that we could use it in a COVID way. Or we could use it for this incentive fund, get more people on the program, or get more landlords on the program.
Well, I think it was a good idea because you did explain to us that you did have interest in it.
Yeah, we added quite a few units.
And so we can get more people going.
Right. Always looking for more landlords, though. Still a shortage all over, not just here, but throughout the whole United States. It's
Uh-huh.
nationwide that there's an issue with finding affordable housing.
Right, right. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions or,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Um,
Sorry.
we always get like, basically totals. Is there someone that oversees, where it says facilities maintenance? Is there like does someone get a breakdown of that and there are totals for that? And
Yeah, all of these are totals, but I have all the detail. So if there's ever any
You do have the
question,
okay.
yeah, if there's ever any question.
Okay, that's all I was wondering is we just always get the totals basically. And I just wanted to find out if there was someone that had a breakdown of that.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, we can run that information anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the financial reports, but it looks like Joyce is still going. So,
Yeah, I just noticed on public housing, for workman's comp, it shows 0. Are we not paying any of that now in public housing?
Yeah. I don't know for sure. Let's see what else we have. It looks like we don't have any for any of our programs, so I don't know for sure what the answer is to that. I can find out for you.
Okay.
any other questions? Gary or Joyce?
None that I can see right now.
Destiny, while I'm looking at this port in rents, I know we got to cover those that move here, but is there a way that you track how many people of ours move to other communities? I mean, former people that used to be under,
We can get that information. We don't track it.
okay,
We track the ports that come in from
Right.
other areas, but we don't track the ones that are porting out. We can within our software. We can look that information up. It's just not something that we keep separate from anything else.
right, since they're actually not a worry anymore, so. Okay, I don't know why.
Yeah, if you ever have a question on that, we can always
Yeah,
get that
it's-
information, but it's just not something that we
I
keep
was just
track
looking
separate.
at that all program line and it got me thinking about it.
Yeah.
That people thought they'd have better luck in a different community for whatever reason, but,
Or they have family
Or
or
they-
whatever,
correct.
or a
There's a
job to
variety
take
of-
them somewhere else, who knows,
Correct.
variety of reasons.
sure. See anything else on there, Joyce?
I see the one for all programs where it's the office furniture and equipment, it's all zeros, but I presume that's because you guys have kind of merged into other offices then.
You said office
On
furniture?
all programs?
At the bottom.
Oh, yeah, we don't have a budget for that.
Did you get through? Okay. Would you like to make a motion then to approve the financial?
I make a motion, we approve the financials for January.
Second.
Great. Been moved and seconded to approve the monthly financial reports for January. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none. Those will pass. Then on to occupancy, and looks like the same two we've had out there in Elsie.
Yeah, we're not rehabbing those, and then we will be having another one come vacant. A couple months ago, we discussed that VAWA for the public housing tenant, so she's still looking. So she will be moving out of the public housing unit, but as of right now, we just have the two. And then our Section 8 numbers, you can see that the total went down. We are seeing fluctuation with that. We are still working through our waiting list. It just varies all the time with people going off the program or moving and new people coming on. We put a lot on with that incentive program, and then January we lost some numbers again, so.
Great. Any other questions or corrections or comments? If not, I'll ask someone to make a motion for approval of.
Make a motion that we approve the occupancy and utilization report.
Second.
Great. Been moved and seconded to approve the occupancy and utilization report for January. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, those pass. Now, just general discussion. Do we have, Bruce, you got anything that brings you down today, or just stretching your legs?
Not a lot. Maybe just a quick informational update on the council action item coming up. So
That's what I just thought. Is that on the ecumenical house?
so
I just glanced at that today.
nothing has changed in the sense that the request to HUD for what they call the disposition application is still pending. So it's going on a little over a year now. Although I guess we did get an email in early February that said that they had forwarded the request on to management, I think is what they said, which they said, we don't know how long that process takes, but it shouldn't take too long or something to that effect. So I don't know. So far, it's been a year. I don't know if shouldn't take too long is, I don't know how long that is, but so even though we're still waiting, and not to overcomplicate this, but just to kind of make it clear for you all too, ideally we were thinking, well, we'll wait until we get an answer from HUD before we would then set a public hearing on the proposed sale locally, which is required by Iowa law, hold that hearing, and then the city council could approve the conveyance to the three nonprofits. Because we have to do that step at some point. And ideally, when you're planning this out a year ago or so, we thought, we'll wait until HUD would approve it. Why would you do it prematurely, really? However, we've heard actually from now, at least two, if not all three of the nonprofits are anticipating applying for some additional grants or funding that would allow them to do some improvement work to the properties once they acquire them. And there's lead times involved with that, and at least one or two of those processes, they need to be able to show that they have at least contingent site control, that there's some sort of a contingent arrangement in place, a process towards which they're going, right? Which makes sense. And so we've been waiting this long with HUD too. We said, well, it seems, everyone tells us that there's at least a good likelihood that HUD will end up approving it. It just is a question of when. So we collectively, staff made the decision, let's put it on the agenda, set a public hearing at council. Council can make their decision on it. And then if they approve it, it will be done. And so then at least it'll be contingent upon HUD approval, but at least we'll have that step done. There will be other steps, I'm sure, along the way. But, and it then positions at least one or more of the buyers to be better suited to be able to have some funding in place to make improvements too. So seems like a win-win to do this, but given that, that's the backstory. Wednesday this week will be the committee of the whole discussion about setting the public hearing. If it would be approved, which generally they do, it would be Wednesday, March 16th, I believe is that Wednesday. The third Wednesday in March would be the hearing, and then the following week would be the vote on conveying to the three nonprofits, which are EHDG, but also Vera French and Habitat for Humanity, Quad Cities. So.
Oh, Habitat, yeah. I was trying to remember the third, so.
So long story, just to let you know, it's coming up on council and why it's coming up. It'll be still contingent. There really isn't anything new that has changed other than we wanted to kind of position ourselves so that we've at least got this piece of it done if in fact council approves it, so.
That's the reason. Okay. Yeah, I just glanced at the agenda.
So Bruce, you said that would probably be like next Wednesday is when they would first start discussing it then?
They would, the committee of the whole this Wednesday, so 2 days from now, will be the setting of the hearing discussion, so that, you know, it's always committee of the whole one Wednesday and council vote the next Wednesday. So in theory, if they would be in favor of setting the hearing, they'd vote on setting the hearing next week in 9 days, and then that hearing would likely be the 16th, and then the 23rd, they would vote on the sale as the fastest they would move, so. And I think what we heard, I can't remember, but I think there's some deadline in April that for at least one of the buyers, one of the nonprofit buyers that has a grant deadline. So it would work out well if we do get it through then, that at least we could say for their grant application that they're conditionally approved to acquire the property upon HUD approval. And they're hoping that the grantor will see that as, you know, being eligible because they've got some site control of it. So we'll see.
And they're all doing things independently because they're three different organizations.
Correct. Definitely independently. However, I will say, and we're bringing them forward independently because I think under law, I mean, we're selling to this buyer, we're selling to this buyer, we're selling to that buyer. So we're doing them under separate resolutions so that it satisfies their closing processes and all that. But I will say they are coordinating and collectively talking through with each other, and they submitted their offers in a combined packet. So I mean, they're coordinating with each other as well. But yeah, officially there'll be three independent sales. Yeah.
Are they still pretty much between the three nonprofits buying all of them, or they're still?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how much. Stop me if you're bored with this. So, but
We're trying to kill time.
all right, okay. There's a lot of moving pieces with this.
No,
So,
I'm free till 6.
oh gosh, you'll be asleep
No,
if I
don't
keep
go
talking
that
that long.
long.
So the council plan originally was, well, we'll step back to the late summer. The game plan was to offer the properties to existing tenants in the event that they wanted to and were able to step into home ownership. And so if they had that ability and had a desire to become homeowners, we wanted to provide that opportunity. And we did, and then failing that, anticipating that might not be everybody, then to the nonprofit community. And so that was kind of the marching orders we had in terms of policy direction from city council. So we did that, and we had one tenant who followed the process through quite a ways and was hoping to acquire the duplex in which she lives. And her intent was to rent that other side out if she was able to acquire it. So we wrote up the plan for HUD accordingly. Fast forward, and the rest of the properties, so the other 40 properties of the 42 would be acquired by the 3 nonprofits. So all of them would be acquired. And we knew going in that EHDG would be interested in that duplex if for some reason that sale to the tenant didn't work out. So we knew we had all of the properties accounted for. We had kind of a plan A, with 4 buyers, and then plan B if the tenant was unable to get financing or wasn't able to go through with it. Unanticipated, we got, what were we, 9 months into the HUD review, so we found out this fall that HUD has a regulation on the books that we hadn't heard about until this one reviewer brought it up, that a tenant who can't buy a duplex as a rental property. The only way they could do it, the only way we, the PHA, could sell to a tenant is if it was a single family house. So that was something we weren't aware of in the process. And so we, and not to bore you with all of it, but we went through a couple of iterations of, well, what if we did this? And one of them was, what if the nonprofit acquired the property, EHDG, and then turned around and sold it to the tenant? So we did walk through that a bit, but there are some requirements that HUD puts in place. And long story short, in the negotiation process, it ended up, the tenant ended up saying, it's let's just withdraw. We get a voucher at the end of this, and so we're protected, and it might have been a little bit of a stretch to try to make this work. And so in the end, they essentially, I guess we define it as they're no longer interested in purchasing it based on this latest bit of news from HUD. And so we've got the 3 nonprofits. So I simplified it a bit when I brought it forward to council and just said, these are the 3 buyers, but there is a bit more to that story too. So in the end, it was just still a good thing. And I know the tenant's excited to be able to remain in place because I think that was somewhat her desire to begin with. So.
Did they decide amongst themselves which properties they were most interested in?
Yeah, and that's what I mean by that. Kind of, they've been coordinating on this from the beginning. All 3 from the beginning kind of decided, hey, we could do these 3 or 4. Hey, we like our business model fits best with these, and our business model fits best with these. So from the beginning, the 3 nonprofits have coordinated well together to say, these are the. So, and I can tell you, so Vera French was most interested in the 2 sixplexes and then 1 duplex that I think geographically fits in with some of the other properties they have. Habitat does single-family houses, so they were interested in 4 particular single-family houses, and Destiny had taken in all 3 on a tour last spring, probably, I think it was, almost a year ago. And then today again. So, this is like a real estate thing. We're probably going to have to, you should. And they want to come through again. Okay. So, and then EHDG has from the beginning said, hey, whatever ones you don't want, we will take. And it turns out that there are 4 single family and 10. No, that's not right. 8, maybe duplexes. I forget. Anyway, they're taking a number of single families and duplexes. EHDG is, Vera French will take the 2 sixplexes and 1 duplex, and then Habitat will take the remaining 4 single families. So yeah, they've coordinated well on that, stayed true to that. And all but the last thing I guess I have for you, just to remind, because it's been so long since we all talked about it, but just the reminder in case you all hear anything about it. We've informed our city council of it too, and the tenants are aware, but want to remind, we anticipate getting vouchers for all of the tenants that are currently occupying the units. And the 2 nonprofits that are going to own and rent the properties, EHDG and Vera French Housing, have both said they can remain if they'd like to. They will have a voucher and they can choose to find replacement housing if they would like, but both of those agencies are respecting if they would like to remain in place, we'll honor that. Habitat, however, as we know, their business model is to build or rehab and then sell. And so the 4 single-family houses, which I think are all occupied currently, those 4 folks will get their voucher and then they will need to move, but they will be given time to do that. But those are really the only 4 of our occupied units that aren't able to have the choice of remaining in the unit. And we knew that kind of going in, that Habitat, they do affordable housing too, and homeownership in neighborhoods is a good thing too, so it's not a bad thing at all, but we did want to make it clear to the tenants early on that, you 4 are going to have to be able to look for something, and you'll have time to do it. The clock hasn't even started ticking on it yet, but we're getting closer to that moment if HUD approves the sale. So then they'll have a voucher. They'll get very similar amount of assistance, but they will need to find replacement housing somewhere. So I think that's all I have. I'll stop.
Unless anybody else has questions for you, but.
You just said these 4 then would have to find other accommodations. Everything is, right now, everything is up in the air because of HUD, Are there other places here in Davenport that maybe some of the other 2 nonprofits would have someplace for them? Kind of depends on what those people decide, if they're going to stay or if they're going to leave, or.
Correct, right, yeah. And I think that's the conversations we've had. In fact, one thing I'm not talking about, again, all the moving pieces with this, our plan to HUD for this disposition action allows us to provide some relocation assistance to tenants as well, not just the 4, but actually others who choose to move as well, as part of this. And that's generally what HUD suggests one should do anyway when you're looking at this, because it is really our action that's causing them to look for other housing and cease to be a public housing tenant and now be a housing choice voucher or tenant protection voucher program. So they're switching programs. So we're going to be there and able to walk people through that. Now, admittedly, are there 4 houses that are exactly like their units with the same amenities? We don't know that necessarily, but like we see with our other vouchered tenants, like I think of it as a new tenant that just got called up from the wait list. They now have a voucher and they go out and try to find what they're looking for, and it may be an opportunity for them to find something that is different from where they have been, in those 4 units. But you're right. There is a possibility in this current environment. Hopefully they can find something they want. They're not limited to just Davenport either. So the tenant protection voucher does allow them, other parts of the Quad Cities. And so it's a nice flexible tool. So I'm optimistic that, they actually have more choice available to them than they've ever had before, really. But yeah, I don't have a guarantee that they're going to immediately find, what they're looking for. So we're ready though to help them through that. HUD will give them a period of time to do that too. So.
Has that new group, whose name escapes me, but was kind of headed up by Ed Winborn, who are trying to acquire some properties and rehab them, and the first I knew about it was maybe a year ago. A woman who was working with them, Gwen Tombergs, was down at one of our meetings, and that's how I learned about it. And I since found out more chatting with Ed. I don't saw him more often when we lived a block away from each other. But have they been in contact with the city about any type getting involved in any Section 8? Do you know?
No, to my knowledge, no, but I will say the conversations that I don't profess to know tons and tons, but I have had several conversations with Gwen, and their new director is Tim Huey.
Right.
Yeah.
Who lives just down the block from me. So, but maybe now that it's spring, we'll see each other more often. So.
Their business model appears to be acquire, rehab, flip, and sell.
That's
so generally, from a Section 8 housing choice voucher standpoint, obviously, that wouldn't work for them because they're not planning to own and rent the property out. But I will say, pivoting completely, and not something I know for your agenda, but that group has been active in the vicinity of the Dream Plus program that council just approved, and we're hoping to launch here yet later this spring. And so there's some excitement in using those ARPA dollars in that direction. And I know that the vacant and abandoned housing component of that whole Dream Plus area is well positioned for that type of business model. So I think that group, the Rejuvenate Housing, I think they're called,
I think that is it.
will be well positioned for that. I mean, I'd love to see them participate. Maybe if there's 4 other groups just like them, that would be great, because there's a lot of properties out there that could be rehabbed and sold, and that program should be a great fit for it. So we'll see. But yeah, I've talked with Tim Huey a little bit about it already. So
Gotcha. Well, next month, will we be back to the 3rd? That'd be the 21st. It's not any type of city holiday or anything. Okay. March 21st.
Yes, March
It's the
21st.
3rd. It's just January and February happen to fall on holidays. So if there's no other questions, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
great. Been moved and seconded to approve adjournment. All those in favor, aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.